Real quick though. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Martial Arts Association. If this is your first time here, thanks for coming. Check us out. I have Sifu Ed Stahl, who is a Jeet Kune instructor. I have Sensei Judo Josh, but he is a 6th degree black belt in karate. And then I am an instructor in many different areas.
So I mix and match and I change, and if it works, I teach it. I steal shamelessly. I think copyrights on most martial arts ran out about 500 years ago. So
where Ed is definitely more like, hey, I do Jeet Kune Do. I don't wear a gi half. I mean, look what he's wearing. He's got. We both have gi pants, and we're wearing our rash guard because we just got out of a seminar. Ed has got a CSW T-shirt on, his own shirt, his own shorts. He's got spats on, and that's what he wore today, pretty much, other than when he taught. Yeah. And so he is very, again, eclectic. Jeet Kune Do is a non-ranks-based style, but yet they have special patches.
They did have
that
patches,
dictated what your rank was. So that's their form of a belt.
Sure. They had the 8 ranks. That went through the different colors.
Correct, which is a belt. Yeah. But okay, so katas.
Okay.
Do you teach them?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with tradition. If you like, Nagamini's Matsubayashi Ryu, and that is your thing, and you want to pass down
that thing
as best as you can, that thing that you learned, that, I have no problem with people holding on to those teachings and being a traditionalist in that sense. Where I have the issue with traditionalist and where I have a negative connotation to the word traditionalist is the gatekeepers that you can't change anything because that what came before us is gospel, and that where it's almost
a lot of problems with Jeet Kune Do.
Yeah, it's almost a pseudo religion, and
Bruce Lee is Jesus now.
I know, right? My primary issue with that is that if you look at all of those katas that came before, why does every style do them different? It's because every revered instructor, who in his own day was not a revered instructor, he was just a freaking teacher. He became revered through history. He changed the katas to suit his needs. This is why every style that does Naihanchi does it differently. Right. Now, the roots are still there, and we can still say, yeah, that's a form of Naihanchi, but it's not the same. And Shinto or Genkaku are the same way.
Yeah, like I said, Wansu, like we were talking about lunchtime, I said, I know for my school, when we did Shorindokai karate, we all would go to tournaments, and there's 2 weird things that happened back in Chicago. The first thing is, we all went white, orange, yellow, blue, green, purple, brown, black.
You're all wrong.
I know, right?
And the reason eventually we asked, and the person above my instructor was colorblind. And the belts didn't come labeled. So he just stuck them on the wall, and I guess nobody ever asked the question. And it was,
you can't question Sensei.
And so I guess that was the case. Like, you don't ask me a question.
Do you know that is 100% why, if you look at the Pinon versus the Heian katas, the Okinawan Pinon katas, 1 and 2 are reversed when they come to the Heian katas?
Because they just swapped them?
Because an instructor swapped them. He got 1 confused with 2, and so he swapped them, and nobody questioned. So now Pinon 1 is Heian 2, even though they're the same kata.
Yeah. And then we had the same problem. We all would drop out, and then we'd go to our left side. We would all move our left foot. And we're the only ones that did it. And we're like, why do we all go this way? They all go that way. Our instructor, his instructor was left-handed. For whatever reason, he couldn't drop out and go the other way. And so my entire branch of our school, we all go the other way. It ends the same, luckily. Because, unlike Taekwondo, our katas always start and stop in the same spot.
In theory.
That's how we did them. And a lot of Taekwondo ones I see, they'll start here, they'll end facing that way or something. And I'm like, why did you do that? But that was the thing. And so I think that same concept, like you said, is traditional bad because I'd seen it on your channel. There's a lot of discussion about the whole, you can't do this because that's not the way that Sijo Bruce did it. It's but
they're very,
there's
very
a
particular.
Really good article that I read when Bruce Lee, right before he was filming Game of Death, that he was working on headlock escapes. And I want to say on Monday, he timed it. It took him 12 seconds or something to complete his little series of moves. You got the headlock. And then he just shaved away crap that didn't work. And by the time on Friday came around, he was doing everything within 3 seconds or something like that. Wow. And then he got called off the Game of Death. But they were saying it's very likely that he could have knocked it down to like 2, if not 1 second, because he just kept saying, well, that's not really necessary, that's not necessary, that's not necessary. So I know for Inasanto's sake, we say Junfan Jeet Kune Do because it's
Bruce Lee's
Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do before he passed away.
Yeah.
Right.
Versus when I was coming up in the martial arts, everybody said they taught Jeet Kune Do concepts because everybody and their sister was stealing Bruce Lee stuff. And if it's just Bruce Lee's concepts, his thoughts, his theories, there's nobody to argue you.
Right.
It's just, well, this is
I
how
mean,
I interpreted what he was teaching.
I am unapologetic that I am a concepts guy.
Okay.
Like I am. Like Bruce, I love Joe Bruce. I think he was awesome. He was way ahead of his time.
I agree.
But he was a man.
Yes.
And he wasn't a very old person. He was 32 when he passed. And just think about
Brandon was 34.
Yeah, think about how much he could have progressed had he lived longer, blah, blah, blah. But, like, look at how much he evolved from the 1964 curriculum to the 1966 curriculum to 1967 to when he closed his schools to 1971 to 1973 when he passed.
Yep.
That's 10 years of evolution, and we just assume, okay, well, when
stops.
he died, and it stopped. So evolution stopped. And I recently got into this discussion where... I got into this discussion with somebody who was punching with their elbow flared, and that's fine. Everyone punches different. And you know, he was like, "Hey, you can get some critique on this." I posted it in a forum, and I was like, "Oh, you know, it looks good. You're hitting the bag. It's good. Your elbow's flaring a little bit on the cross." And then he laid into me with all these pictures of Joe Bruce, Ted Wong, all these people throwing the cross. I'm like, they're throwing it wrong. They're throwing the cross wrong. It's okay. Bruce Lee can do stuff wrong. And if you look at him hitting the bag, like his hands are here. You don't fight here. Let's big spar. Right? Right? We don't fight here.
Earlier video discussion.
Yeah. You subscribe to Metrolina Martial Arts if you want that one. But, no, but the idea is like, if you look at how boxers are nowadays, no one hits the bag like this. They're hitting the bag up here. And then they tried to argue with me. And there is truth to the statement, but it's wrong. Is that human evolution hasn't progressed or anything? And I was like, yes, you're correct. But also, what world records remain from the 1970s? I'll tell you. There's one. It's female shot put. That's the only world record in athletics that still remains. Wikipedia it. And it's women's.
That's not a viable source.
You can check the sources. You can now. Is it, you know?
You can't?
You can now, yeah. But you look at it, and all the world records of sporting events, none of them are from the 70s. So I submit to you all, if you look at that, what could have possibly happened conceptually from Bruce's passing, had he not passed, to where, let's say he's alive today and he's in his 80s, what would you think it'd look like? It would look dramatically different, and that's fine. If you want to preserve Lee Junfan Jeet Kune Do, which I do, I teach the curriculum that Bruce Lee had, but then I take those concepts and I apply them to everything else, and my life is happy, and I don't have to worry about people saying I'm doing all this stuff wrong, except they do. Thank you. Appreciate you.
I think where it comes down to is you're gonna.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm not okay.
His head's gonna explode.
I need a hug.